Yes, so there's this these people in Japan as well, kind of saying the interesting things, saying that the Japanese ancient people were living on the ocean, and then they were also watching the stars, and
Mm,
then they were receiving so many informations. But they said, I think it is Andromeda galaxy that the
mm,
Japanese ancient people knew how to combine the energy from the galaxy downloading because the Japan, I mean the Milky Way galaxy, they said it's a masculine galaxy energy. So
ah,
Okay. Yeah.
they said I think it's Andromeda, I'm not sure because I haven't
mm,
paid them for the details to
mm,
learn. But anyway, so I think it's an
mm,
outside galaxy. They called it's a feminine galaxy. So
mm,
they were intentionally downloading the energy of the outside of the Milky Way galaxy to combine two-way flow, yin and yang, or like a feminine and masculine,
mm,
to be able to open up their more will. They said the masculine will develop more the left brain, no?
mm,
So
yes.
the theory is like before humans, first they had more like a right side brain, and then for the southern, the Japan started to combine left, I mean, the right side brain was the starting, and then now the human being is going towards the left side brain. I mean, the 20th century, so before, no?
Mm,
Before the Persian era, etc., like masculine energy. However, the Japanese ancient people were downloading this outside galaxy with the feminine energy, so that
mm,
they
Mhm.
kind of
mm,
use the left side and right side, so both hemispheres, and then created this force. They said it's force. So when we can develop the left and right all together, and then we
mm,
develop some, force. And then this is how
yeah,
we can
yeah.
develop our psychic abilities, or I think all those. Is that
Mhm.
like that, Kiara?
Well, that feels good. Yeah, I mean, like we talk about love and power being in
Mm-mm.
some ways the equivalent of right and left brain,
Mm-mm.
so when we can combine love with power, then we have effective action and
Mhm.
ability to
Mhm.
connect on a deeper
Mhm.
level with each other, with the planet, with the cosmos.
Mm.
Because just love by itself is useless, powerless,
Mhm.
and weak. And just power
Yeah.
by itself can be aggressive and violent and,
Mhm.
overwhelming. But when you bring them together, and I think that's really the nature of this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's stepping outside of any one single polarity.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so we were combining the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects of our being in such a way that they can work together.
Sure.
And this hasn't
Yeah.
been possible for a while. We've either had matriarchal or patriarchal, not
Mhm.
really a balanced society or culture.
Mhm.
And I know Japan has gone, it's alternated between a very patriarchal, samurai type culture with really opening to the wisdom of the divine. But again, now it's like all cultures, the ability to hold both in balance. And it's interesting when you talk about Andromeda as the twin galaxy and, bring that polarity, because
Mm.
people say also about the sun that our sun has a twin star. Um,
Mhm.
and it's true for everything, like um, we ourselves, have a twin soul. That's an
Mhm.
aspect of our own being that sometimes incarnates and sometimes doesn't, but supports us in our evolution. Um, so in a way, it's like, intrinsically, the soul is in balance between masculine and feminine.
Mm.
And then there's times when we come into one expression or the other expression to experience what that's like. But as a planetary culture now, it's time to bring them together.
Yes.
So it's like when what one thing about swimming with whales and dolphins is that they are our teachers in that way. It's like they help us open up for us that would be the right brain. Um, they themselves are the right brain of the planet,
Mm.
as humans are the left brain of the earth.
Mm.
So in
Yeah.
a way, it's like, we all have something to offer each other to find this balance.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you haven't, you must see that movie, the Avatar, The Way of
Oh,
Water.
yes.
It's such an
Yes.
incredible,
The Way of Water. Oh,
oh,
it is amazing. I loved it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Avatar, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have more whales and dolphins off the west coast of the east coast of the island, or Vancouver Island, coming down. We
Mm.
more whales than we've ever seen, and dolphins in the north
Oh,
tip of the island that we haven't
mm,
seen. So I don't really know why or what that's about,
mm.
but it's great,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I feel like they're conscious beings and they know that this is part of a shift of consciousness
yeah.
for the planet. And now they want to work with humans in a way they haven't been able
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
As
Maybe
was
that's so.
to the extent that we are receptive and more of us are becoming receptive, and maybe they recognize that this movie itself will
Hmm.
probably, cause some kind of a awakening for a lot of humans.
I hope
They're
so.
helping to open that up.
Hmm. Oh, yep. They know when their time
Mm,
is, when we're ready for their time, I guess.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's we talked earlier about the balance of darkness and light. And,
Hmm.
we often see them as polarities,
Yeah,
either dark or light, rather
yeah.
than seeing one within the other. It's like
Right.
darkness cannot exist without
Without
light,
the
and
light.
it's not the opposite of light, it simply reveals more of
Yeah,
the light.
yeah.
So whether we talk about it in terms of spiritual darkness or emotional darkness, it's a
Hmm.
gateway. And I think
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
what we are realizing now, that we've seen so much darkness on this planet in the last, you know, few millennia.
Yeah.
And especially coming to the surface lately.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
the wars of the deep state, however
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
want to see it. But
Hmm.
it's like trying to steal the soul of humanity in a way
Hmm.
that is not sustainable anymore
Hmm.
for the balance of life.
Hmm.
And so now we're seeing the awakening taking place spontaneously in response to this.
Hmm.
Truth
Hmm.
being brought to the surface, whether it's in terms of political realities, we're going to be seeing through the lies and the deceit.
Hmm.
That I'm not going to speak about anything in detail because
Yeah,
I don't want to, people have to wake up on their own.
yeah.
But still, it's like, truth is going to be revealed.
Hmm.
And whether it's political truth or spiritual truth or medical truth,
Yeah.
um, and then we see what happens. We come into a
Hmm.
power, we come into that union of um, love in balance with power.
Hmm.
So we can be effective agents of change
Hmm.
and agents of transformation and rebirth on this
Hmm.
earth.
Hmm. I know that I've always been afraid of my power because I've always felt I've misused it in another lifetime.
Mm,
And, that lack of self-worth is being really, has really been pushed on us as a society, And so I'm just really starting to accept that I am a powerful being of love, It's a
mm,
hard one to
mm,
totally accept, without getting the mind or the ego involved.
mm. Yeah. And again, that's about breaking out of that trap that
Hmm.
we put the ego into a box also,
Hmm. Hmm.
so something negative about the ego, or that's something selfish about the ego, rather than seeing the ego as an expression of the soul,
Mhm.
of the divine personality wanting to
Mhm.
express. So it's like, who we are is a flute through which this
Mhm.
beautiful music is being played. That's it.
I like
If we
that. Yeah.
identify with the
Yeah.
flute and think that we are the flute, that's
Mhm.
but the flute has has its purpose, just like the ego has its purpose.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, there's this new age thing where the ego is supposed to be something bad, something to be
Mhm.
rid of. But that's really only if we take, polarized view
Mhm.
things.
Mhm. Flute is my favorite instrument.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're a musician?
No, I just love music, but I'm not a
Yeah,
musician.
yeah.
I'd love to be a
Mm,
musician. It just didn't really.
mm,
It's not part of my DNA, I guess. I don't know.
yeah. Or you're creating other music in other forms.
Yes. Yeah, music on other levels. Yeah.
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 I've got a little cold, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah,
Lilo,
I had to join with my telephone because I don't know what's wrong with my computer.
the camera,
Mhm.
right?
Everything is correct, but the video wouldn't go on. So
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
But I
Oh,
think
good.
now it's working, Lilo, without connecting your audio with the
yeah,
camera, because
yeah,
otherwise you will have
it's my cell
double
phone.
voice.
Mm,
Yeah, so you can listen from your computer and then you see us through your telephone. I think it's better.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, I
but
can see you. Mhm.
shut. You don't have to connect the audio with your telephone because otherwise you will have double. No, don't. Yeah, keep the computer on with the, because now we don't hear you anymore, Lilo. Keep the computer on.
Okay, good.
Yeah, like this, just like
Okay.
this, just like this.
Sorry about this.
or you're just learning to bilocate.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on with this.
Mm.
I never have trouble, but with this group, I do. Yeah, funny.
Dimension, something
We're in
going.
Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, who
Oh, that's
knows?
right. Yeah. Well, this whole thing with Mercury retrograde and any planets in retrograde is the same. It's like, people see it as something negative. It's like everything's going to go wrong. But it's really, the energies of Mercury being turned inward so
Mhm.
that when it's time to go out again,
Mhm.
then there's an accumulation of wisdom that
Uh,
can be communicated. There's something, a new wave that can come forward. It's just like the
I like
tide,
that.
goes out,
Yeah.
comes back in. A
Yeah.
breath goes out, comes back in. And so planets go out and come back in to focus.
Mhm.
So, we're going through a time when we've been retrograde for such a long time. Humanity has
Mhm.
been retrograde. Our divine
Mhm.
potential has been eclipsed for so long. And
Mhm.
now when it comes forward again, it's going to be huge and overwhelming,
Mm. Can't wait.
explosive event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So much joy, so much possibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think more and more people are sensitive with the energy these days. I feel that the many people can feel really the energy more than before, compared
Mhm.
to like 30
Mm.
years ago.
Mhm.
Maybe
Mm.
I really feel that around me as well. And this morning I was channeling and then I felt the passage of the energy through from
Mm.
the earth to us and also, like the sun to us. And then the guys
Mm.
were saying like it's so nice that we always like conscious about this flow because 2023 would be lots of changes. Then
Mhm.
we need to change and decide, each choice. But
Mm.
Mhm.
always feeling this connection,
Mm.
then you decide with your heart and then to do that. They were just showing me like that. So I don't know, how are you feeling Kiara, about the next year?
Hmm. Wow. I think it's going to be a turning point here.
Mm,
Well, the last 2, 3 years have been a turning point anyway. Um, but I think we've crossed the worst of it. We've passed the
mm,
worst of it. Um, and the purpose of this was simply for people to start awakening, to start
mhm,
remembering, to start the process of truth telling.
mhm,
And it's happened enough now that the polarity of light can come through more clearly and transparently. It may start with some kind of breakdown,
mhm,
especially economically, energetically, and
mhm,
politically.
mhm,
Um, and so we might see its partial collapse of our social
mhm,
structures, our security, um, even the way our governments exist. I think a lot
mhm,
of organizations may fail, may just completely collapse,
mhm,
and even governments.
mhm,
But only what is unnecessary.
mhm,
And what is truly important will be reborn.
mhm,
So an example is with the US chart, astrologically, is going through a Pluto return,
mhm,
which means that it's going through death and rebirth in in its first cycle since its creation as a nation,
mhm,
or at least as in its current form, because as a nation it's existed, through the indigenous people for long centuries
mhm,
before this nation currently came about. But yeah, so the Pluto return represents death and rebirth, and
mhm.
it represents the completion of cycles of karma.
Ah, mhm,
So, whatever has not been acknowledged will be revealed to the world, to people,
mhm,
and sometimes painfully. I mean, it's not
mhm,
easy when something has been consciously repressed for so long for it
mhm,
to be brought into the light of truth. The
mhm,
news media will try desperately to hide
mhm,
what's going on, which it has been doing especially for the past 3 years, but it has been doing for decades.
mhm.
And the wholesale um, peddling of lies
Mhm,
in service to the oligarchs, into the plutocracy, the ruling classes, the elite. This is something that's been going on for a long time. It's
mhm.
basically, hiding of truth. But that hiding will no longer be tolerated by the mass populace because people know too much. And the
Yeah,
soul desires to be expressed and revealed now. It cannot
yeah.
be hidden. And so many people are losing themselves, even losing their lives, because the soul cannot survive as long as being squelched.
Mhm,
And it has happened for too long.
mhm.
So if you want to survive as individuals, if you want to survive as a species, you know, we have to wake up to the truth. And I think that's what 2023 will begin to
Oh, let's hope
reveal.
so. Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I still think we have a ways to go. I think the first
Yeah,
half of the year will continue being a little bit wild and crazy. But
yeah.
the sense is that um, by the summer, um, truth will no longer be allowed to be hidden. Whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's political, whether it's mm, spiritual.
Mhm.
You brought up the idea of the um, galactic families, Ayako, and I think that's another truth. We are connected
Yeah,
across the galaxies.
yeah.
We're not just a single species that somehow created ourselves, through chance.
Mhm.
We're here as part of a much bigger family of nations,
Mhm.
and that's going to be revealed more and more.
Mhm.
When you said the twin star of the sun, is it the Alcyon of the Pleiades, or which one is the twin star?
Um, well, who knows? I mean, some say it's Sirius.
Oh, that's the twin
Mm.
star. Mm.
So, that's why it's the brightest of the visible stars.
Ah,
Is,
okay.
and they also, and there's a researcher, Walter Cruttenden. I think he's got a website, Binary Systems or something like that, Binary Institute maybe. But he talks about our journey, as our sun and Sirius traveling around each other, revolving around the center of our Milky Way galaxy.
Mm.
And so, as we journey in these cycles around a bigger cycle,
Mm.
um, we create the ages. So it's a cycle of darkness and light between Satyuga and Kali Yuga, of relative darkness and light as we come closer to the center and further from the center of the
Mhm.
galaxy.
Mhm.
And now we're coming to a place where it doesn't matter how close we are, how far we are, because the light is coming from within ourselves now, not from external sources.
Mhm.
So this will then become an unending cycle of awakening and beauty and evolution and love.
Mm.
Yeah.
I know Cryon has said that the Syrians are like the grandfather of ascended consciousness, and they seeded the Arcturians, who seeded the Pleiadians, who seeded Earth. So and then our next step is to seed the next planetary civilization that needs it. But of course, we have to get there first.
Mm, mm,
Part of the cycle, right?
mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, it's an interesting question what the next cycle of humans
Yeah,
will be like. What is
yeah,
the next species going to look like?
yeah.
And are we already there? Maybe some of us have already opened up to some of the genetic potentials,
Mm-hmm,
but it's going to be much bigger than anything we know.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know the Syrians now have been talking a lot about the 24th chromosome, the quantum chromosome, and activating it. So, I don't know if you know who Dr. John Ryan is. He's actually a physician in the Ottawa General Hospital, but he also channels the Syrians and has a program called Unity Light Healing. But once a month, I tune into the transmissions from the Syrians, and they're very profound, very, very deep. Mm-hmm.
And what's the name? Is there a website?
drjohnryan.org.
Lion.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Unity Field here Healing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something we're all going to be learning about, how to step into that unity field or the quantum field or whatever we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in the Hindu system, they talk about the 5 koshas.
Mm-hmm.
And the unity field would be the Anandamaya kosha, the soul body,
Mm-hmm.
and linking up the physical, the prana, the emotional, and the mental bodies with the soul body in order to achieve the quantum aspects of healing and existence. So from that, we talk about quantum reality as something that in quantum physics only exists in subatomic levels. But that's not accurate. It's only accurate when we are using a very small spectrum of our senses and of our mind. But once we begin to open up, like you said, 24 strands of DNA, or however we, whatever concept we have about this, then quantum reality becomes a normal waking reality in the normal
Mm,
world around us. It's
mhm,
the way that reality has shaped itself across the universes. It's not just a single universe, it's not just a single galaxy or a single dimension of reality, but multiple verses in a single universe. So, yeah, so this is, how reality is supposed to be structured. And I think this is what we're learning to experience now as we wake up. So we're just in the very
mm.
first
Oh,
steps of
yeah.
this
y-
new awakening. It's like
Yeah.
when we speak
Yeah.
about awakening to our fullest truth. We're just beginning this
Yeah.
process.
We are. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how it works, this soul star family and our human DNA kind of binding together. I say like a 12 strands of DNA and 12 strands of the soul star family as well. So that's what you say about the 24 strands. How it works? How like this?
Mm,
Or how?
mm.
Do you
Yeah,
know?
that's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, who knows?
I'm
Maybe,
always trying
when
to
you talk
visualize
about,
how it's coming.
yeah, I think of there's subtle dimensions.
Mm.
Okay, on a physical dimension, there's two strands, obviously, that, these two interweaving strands of DNA that create physical reality or express physical reality. And then we have many bodies, many dimensions. And maybe when you're talking about masculine, feminine universes, Andromedan and Milky Way systems, we can think about it as in terms of 24 strands. It's like, to me, it doesn't matter exactly how we look at it. Um, Underneath all that, there's a truth that we are reconnecting with aspects of us that have been forgotten. Not for the first time, because in previous cycles we had access to all this, but then we got
Mhm,
separated and densified in such a way that we lost access, and now we're regaining access. We're remembering who we are. We're remembering our quantum reality. So I think this is really the key. It's like it's something that's not just happening on a mental level. It's not just a concept anymore, but biological.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Can you give me any author or any names to read on it?
Um, Anything from people like Sri Aurobindo. Um, is very relevant to this because Sri Aurobindo and the mother, they were like spiritual explorers who spoke about this next species and what it would look like, and the fact that it already exists, but we are building the bridge now between a current species and the emerging species. Um, and then the Incas, the Egyptians, the Tibetans, the Hindus, they all talk about this
Mm.
new species. Homo luminous is the term that comes from the Inca people. Um, so I think many people have spoken about this and felt this. Um, we've intuited this. Many clairvoyants experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now it's like we're coming into a time when it's part of Gaia's evolution, and Gaia is now requiring that any anyone who uh, wishes to take birth on this planet will be able to receive this new biological
Mhm,
consciousness.
mhm,
So, so there may be a lot of people recycling,
Mm.
mhm,
um, leaving current incarnations, returning in new bodies, which are capable of holding this new vibration. And part of it is that there's a bombardment of, there's an increased bombardment of galactic cosmic rays as well as solar cosmic rays, which are very high frequencies. They're coming into the upper atmosphere of the Earth now. And as it enters deeper and deeper into the atmosphere and even into the body of the Earth, that it's going to very rapidly change the vibrational frequency of
Mm.
the Earth. We're seeing the signs of that already. And
Yeah.
we're seeing it in the magnetic field of the Earth. So we're seeing changes in the aurora borealis. The
Mhm.
colors that we see in the aurora borealis are
Oh,
changing. There's much more
interesting.
pinkish energy now that can be visibly seen in the northern region.
Ah,
The magnetic field of the Earth is collapsing rapidly to be replaced by a reversal polarity. So all these things are happening, and some people talk about this. Most people are not even aware of it.
yeah.
But there's a YouTube channel, Suspicious Observers, Ben Davidson, and he speaks about some of this. There's others who speak about more spiritual aspects of this also.
Hmm.
So, but it's in my own book, Gaia Luminous and Homo Luminous, I try and bring these spiritual and
Mm.
biological and mechanistic aspects together of all these cycles and what they mean. And so it's something that's inevitable and unescapable.
I mean,
Um,
because they say the frequency transmitter, there are
mm,
some people like that, and that's maybe their mission or their role this time, no? To just to be existing, and then they are emitting the
exactly,
frequency around.
exactly.
Then,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, just, yeah. So,
yeah.
then I'm feeling the generous abundance of this frequency coming from the universe, no
Right,
galaxy, all
right.
that. So I think we just have to open up, or maybe just to believe, because some people are not
Mm,
believing this, but
mm,
really, then it's there already. It's coming.
mm. Yeah, and as a frequency transmitter, your job is to transform your own physical body and your mental body, your emotional body, and your spiritual body in order to be able to transmit these new frequencies. So this is like an alchemical process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of people find themselves going through so many extremes, mentally and emotionally and physically, as our bodies start to transform themselves. So it's not easy, like it's almost like losing your mind, losing your sense of who you are, losing your personality, losing your idea of what you're capable of. And many people find themselves in a contractive phase right now.
Hmm.
Um, and that's okay. It's almost like you're going backwards. But it's really about cocooning, going inside, so
Hmm.
that when the next wave um, of evolution begins, then new aspects of ourselves can emerge that have been hidden or that have not even been developed yet. So this is what's slowly, invisibly now coming into the fore. So it's almost like, this is what happens when a caterpillar goes inside its cocoon and then begins to emerge as a butterfly. It's completely different from anything it's known. And it's scary and it's new. And, you think you're losing something because the caterpillar feels like, everything that is familiar with is dissolving. Literally, the caterpillar literally dissolves into this soupy, DNA substance. And then um, whatever is meant to emerge from that can do so. So I think we're going through that on many levels. Yes, biologically, physically, our personalities, and then outwardly, socially, politically, economically. So it's a huge process. It's a birthing process.
Yes.
And I feel like the birthing has begun, but it still takes time. Baby doesn't grow up overnight, so we're here we're like a baby species that's starting to come into itself.
Mm. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But at
Yeah,
least we're going forward.
we're going forwards. We're spiraling. We're
Yeah.
continuing to spiral upwards or down. Upwards, downwards. Who knows? It's like we're awakening. When people talk about enlightenment, they talk about moving upwards on this journey of enlightenment. So you're bringing life force into the upper chakras, the third eye, the crown, the higher crown chakras. But at the same time, you're also embodying, you're coming deeper into the lower chakras, into those new biological arenas which have been hidden and occluded. So a new level of security where we feel connected with the earth as mother, new biological potentials that have not been expressed yet. And for all this, it's a downward journey. So it's both. So we're spiraling upwards, we're spiraling downwards, and we're merging together as spirit, body, mind, heart creations.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Yes.
How would you say to the ordinary people, let's say, like who may have troublesome to overcome this change? How would you advise them, or how would you say that they can go on?
Yeah, I think that's such an important question, isn't it? Especially when you feel lost and helpless and hopeless. And I think to give yourself the opportunity to see the big picture, do your own exploration. Don't get stuck in concepts and ideas of how you think reality needs to be, what you've been conditioned to believe. Whether it's spiritual conditioning or social conditioning or scientific conditioning doesn't matter, because we're going beyond all forms of conditioning, even spiritual conditioning. And give yourself the opportunity to see the big picture, to look inside yourself, to look deeply into your own heart and listen, which means taking time, which means going inside, which means that the lockdowns, which were instituted a few years ago, it's not so much about restricting yourself as discovering yourself. In that silence, in that isolation, there can be a new seed that can germinate. And we need to give ourselves space for that and time for that. So all of this is great, from an evolutionary perspective. These lockdowns have been part of the germination of a new species. The oppression, the suppression, the control that we've been experiencing is also part of this, germination process. So to see things from that perspective, rather than seeing it from a perspective of being somehow controlled only, is important. And it changes everything, in fact. It's like then we can ally with the new forces, the new energies that are emerging, the cosmic ray forces that are entering the Earth's atmosphere. There was a mystic, Peter Donoff, in the 40s, who spoke about this fire from heaven. It's like a cosmic electricity that would be felt and absorbed by people. And he said this would take place about 70 or 80 years in his future. And he was speaking in the mid 40s. So this is the
Uh,
time. This is the time
can
that all
you
these
write
things are
his
happening.
name? Can
Yeah,
you write in the chat?
sure. So it's Peter, Deunov.
Uh, uh-huh. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So he was a Bulgarian mystic and
Mm,
quite well known and very accurate in some ways, in many ways. So, so he speaks about this cosmic electricity that is now pouring in, and it's not just an inanimate force, but it's actually working with consciousness, it's working within ourselves to awaken human consciousness to its next level. So for people who are not ready to integrate this, it may not be perceivable.
Mm.
In fact, it may lead to a breakdown of our
mhm,
functioning, of our tissues, of our life force, and eventually lead to um, an opportunity to release this incarnation. But for
mhm,
those of us who are ready to receive this, which is, I think, at this time, perhaps the majority of humans, we can actually receive this new energy deep into ourselves, deep into our consciousness, into our hearts, just by allowing it to be so, just by seeing it differently, seeing it not as something that we have to be afraid of and resist, but as something we can open to and integrate.
It,
So
it,
this is the process
yeah.
of alchemy. We don't have to be, meditating for hours every day to make this
mhm,
happen. It's like, yeah, just
mhm,
keeping our hearts open,
It's
allowing
really
these
instant,
seeds.
isn't it? It's so fast. It's like a download. It's like
Yeah,
boom.
yeah.
And then I also think that's the codes of from the Syrians. They
Mm,
said that they are very good at the sacred geometry and down. I mean, this coding energy, like informations.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, everything is sacred geometry. In fact, the Merkaba is the linkage between the different bodies.
mhm,
So how the physical body, the prana body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the soul body linked together is through sacred geometry.
mhm,
And so the higher the vibrational frequency, the more interconnectedness between these bodies through the
mm,
Merkaba. So,
mhm,
you may have noticed like the whole science of kymatics, where, like you can have like a drum, like a regular drum, and you put sand on it, and
mm,
you
mhm,
use a particular frequency of sound, and it creates a geometrical pattern. And then you
mhm,
change the vibrational frequency, you raise the frequency, and the pattern changes. You continue to raise the frequency, the pattern continues to change. It
mhm,
becomes more complex, more, more higher vibrational geometrics. So, so there's the science of geometry and sacred geometry, especially, which is fascinating. And the same
mhm,
thing that works, on a two-dimensional surface also works inside our own bodies, inside each cell. Um, Water is a prime
water.
example. Our bodies are 75% water,
Mhm,
just like the earth is 75% water.
mhm,
So it's like, yeah, water carries memories. Water is able to hold these new waves of potential from the center of a
mhm,
galaxy and beyond a galaxy. It's information waves that's coming in through these cosmic rays and beginning to affect our geometries, affect our bodies and our cells, biological structures, everything. And
mhm,
it's happening on a level that the mind cannot always follow. So so I think it's also important for people to just let go of needing to understand everything. Just
mhm,
allow the body to do what it needs to do. Uh,
mhm,
just realize that our minds may not be able to pick up everything that's happening. Bodies may get sick
Yep,
um,
like mine.
from time to time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not really to try to analytically understand, but it's a experience that I feel when I'm sending the energy, for example. I'm always
Mm,
feeling the in between of the dimensions, some
mm,
space, and
mm,
then I send the energy there, then all of a sudden it expands.
mm.
So is that how you are feeling with the Merkaba? Like, for example, like to go between these different bodies?
Yeah, I think it's like your consciousness permeates all these bodies. And, we have brought our consciousness into such a um, limited range that we have divided these bodies from each other. We we have this idea that we are only physical bodies, or at the very most, we identify with the personality structure, the mental and emotional bodies. But then, what does it mean to continue to expand further into the soul body, into the planetary body, the cosmic body, you know, the 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 spiritual body where we experience ourselves as all of creation. So these are also part of how we can experience ourselves. And all of us, not just, spiritual masters, all of us, because this is part of our biological heritage.
Mhm,
This is part of who we are meant to be as humans. So the next incarnation of Gaia as Mother Earth will be to um, invite those who are ready to experience this, and only
mhm,
those who are willing to experience this, not those who are going to create more polarization and division and violence and hatred and fear.
mhm,
Because Gaia has chosen her next wave of evolution, which is this.
mm,
And so, very quickly, we're going to be transitioning now. So, how we
mm,
started with, what does 2023 look like? I think it's going to be like in the next, say, decade or two, we'll be seeing the completion of this transition to a large extent. Because there's
mm,
many factors included, not just, you know, human factors, but we're also talking about galactic factors. There's galactic waves coming in, there's solar cycles that are completing, there's
mhm,
magnetic fields collapsing and reforming and
mhm,
reversing. And all of this together is creating a huge interdimensional phenomenon where these changes can be anchored. So there's mechanical forces, there's spiritual forces, there's galactic forces. They're all converging with each other and initiating something totally different and new. So yeah, the next couple of decades will be the actual passage through the birth canal of Gaia and the
mm,
emergence of a new species of humanity and a new incarnation of the earth.
That's exactly the meditation you shared, no, with us. The original this group started with your workshop, no, and that workshop
right.
it does talking
Mm.
about that, no, opening of the photo, the window there, and just receive and just
Yeah,
no.
yeah, right. And it's like when you open that window, we're opening to these cosmic galactic frequencies, which are intelligent. So they know what to do. We all we have to do is surrender, allow, and those forces do what's necessary.
Yeah, yeah.
So
We just have to be
it should
there.
be simple and joyful and
Hmm.
spontaneous.
And it's just, I think it's just the humans are so in a busy, like they're in a hurry. They don't
Mm,
spend 1 hour to really receive that. I mean, that's
mm,
the only
mm.
missing because otherwise they are doing it already, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So this would be, something to um, let people know. Like, give yourselves time, give yourself the opportunity to experience these new energies. It's not only for a few select people, it's for all of us.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the key is to slow down. The life,
Yeah,
that's the key.
yeah, yeah.
I have been told so many times recently, just slow down, you speak
Mhm.
slow down,
Mhm.
do everything slow down.
Yeah, and do what you love,
Mhm.
What have you been holding back? Whether it's some creative interest, whether it's spending time in nature, going to the beach, swimming, writing, painting, in slowing down, being with family, being with friends that are meaningful for you,
Mhm.
giving yourself time to do things that you love that you haven't been able to do because of busyness in your life.
Mhm.
Making sure you have your priorities right.
Mhm.
And this is a good time as we enter into the new year to make your resolution. What is it that I really want for myself this year?
Mhm.
And what do I not want?
Mhm.
So some people say that 2022 was more like we are just on the flow and then we weren't sure how it is. So we're just tasting everything, whatever it comes, and just try it, try it, try it. And then
Mhm.
23 would be more like to decide each time. And then, especially like you say, like if we don't want anything, just say no and just
Mm,
choose always with the heart.
mm.
So everything each time we are deciding instead of just like receiving whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's almost like a splitting of realities,
Mhm.
So if we choose to step into the new world reality, or the new earth reality, as I like to call it, then things will accelerate faster and faster in that direction. If you're choosing a reality of fear and um, hurtfulness, or
Mhm.
violence, and hoarding, greed, whatever forms that fear
Mhm.
takes, then there'll be a slowing down of our um, evolutionary journey. And
Mhm.
when there's a slowing down of our evolutionary journey, it goes also with the breaking down of our human and physical forms. Many
Mhm.
people might find themselves getting sick, or worrying about everything, more and more anxiety, more and more
Mhm.
emotional stress and trauma, because that's the other side. When you're resisting the new
Mhm.
vibrations, the cosmic energies, then you're going to slow down your um, ability to receive these
Mhm.
vibrations.
Mhm.
So, and that's okay. It's like we have different soul contracts. Some people find that it's time to leave their bodies and come back in another incarnation at a different time when they're ready to receive this. So,
Mhm.
but what's most important right now is not our own human individual evolution, it's the species um, evolving into something new, the Homo luminous, and it's the planet moving into her next evolutionary phase, Gaia luminous.
Mhm.
And individuals, okay, we have a role to play, but in service to this larger evolutionary force.
Mhm.
I'm going to miss this meeting. I'm going to miss this meeting because
Mm,
it's so good to talk. These conversations is really the wisdom of the words, and which is really needed now. Yeah,
yeah,
to
yeah,
Mhm.
planet.
yeah,
I mean, we
yeah,
need to expand this voice, but also we need to meet and we need to
yeah.
discuss.
Well, it's not like we have to stop. Maybe we could,
Yeah,
meet
I
every
think.
3 months or something.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have time,
Yeah.
11 Pacific, and then you just tell me, and I just put the Zoom, and
Mm,
because yeah, I
great.
think it's important that we meet and we just,
Yeah, yeah,
remember these kind of things. So,
yeah.
Yes, remember. Thank you so much, Kiara, for your wisdom. It's very heartwarming.
Well, thank you for bringing yours. And, it's like, yeah, we're awakening and we're doing this together, and it's can be fun and joyous.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Because I think the Gaia, I mean the universe is speaking to us, each of us. We can all
Yeah.
channel, we can receive some messages, and we are doing things.
Mm,
But it's
yeah.
nice to meet together and share, so that I
Yes.
get also confirmed, no? And then what I'm feeling sensory, like because I'm a sensor, I feel it.
Mm,
But then I don't know so much about the explanation logically. And when you explain everything, it's like, yeah,
mm,
it's
yeah,
combined.
yeah,
Yeah, fertilize
yeah,
more for the next actions, right?
yeah.
So
Well,
it's
it's the frequency. So what you're feeling is the frequency of joy.
Yeah. 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 I see it
Oh,
in you, Ioka. You're so joyful. Thank you for your joy.
Mm,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, it's just so exciting to feel everything, no? Because
Yeah.
we are really receiving so much high frequency energy these days. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. And it's all about the love and gratitude, and they just
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
one. They say that don't worry anything, just connect here, and I can really feel it, the connection both sides. And when you have
mm,
this channel, this passing, you don't have anything to worry.
yeah, exactly. I think
Mhm.
those are the, people talk about the opposites.
Yeah.
Fear and joy are opposites. It's a frequency. So when you're trapped in the frequency of fear, everything slows down, everything starts feeling painful and separate. You're experiencing suffering on so many levels and breakdown of everything. And then when you're feeling joy, it's like everything is moving forward and everything is beautiful and positive, and the universe reflects your internal state, and synchronicities happen, and you're always being
Mhm.
guided, um, and meeting people that vibrate and resonate to where you are at, and receiving information that supports you, and all these things. It's a frequency,
Mhm.
and we are vibrating um, either in one direction or the other. And the more we start to move in one direction, the more the universe supports that and brings that in.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where the perspective is important. If our perspective widens, then we open to the frequency of joy. If our
Mm.
perception begins to contract, then we
Mm.
start falling into the frequency of fear.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, it's the conscious level, not the perspective, and that's why it's even important that somebody like you speak and, and just
Mhm.
get the information, because some people don't feel the energy. They need
Mm,
to listen logically,
mm,
isn't it?
mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
That's
feeling like we're coming to the end of our session today.
Mm. Well, thank you all for, just being present and just
Mm.
soaking
Mhm.
in this new frequency like we have been and we continue to be.
Mhm.
And so it's just, hold this intention for all the earth to awaken, for all beings to resonate to beauty and love and joy, and the butterfly consciousness that's emerging.
Yeah, I like that butterfly consciousness. Yeah,
Mm,
true. Oh, thank you all so much. It's been just wonderful.
mm. So
Oh,
thank you, Ayako, for hosting.
thank you, Kiara. Such a wise and generous share, really. It's so epic. Amazing. Lilo,
mhm.
do you want to say something, Lilo?
oh, I am sort of out of it more or less. So that's why I'm not participating, but I tell you, I love you all. I am so
Mm,
grateful you exist.
Mm.
Oh,
mm,
Why?
thank you.
Thank you, Lila. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Love you.
mm. So many blessings, much love.